News Talk 820 WBAP now on FM at 93.3, y'all. Make it a preset. 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Here's the real thing going on today. Kamala's positions, Kamala. Do we need a laugh or should we wait? We'll wait. You want to wait? Sorry, snuck one in. Kamala's positions are starting to come out, and they're really bad. And she's going to try to cover it up or pretend like she never thought that way or that she's had some kind of a change of heart. But this woman is a deep far leftist. I've got audio. It's incredible. It's horrible for her, honestly. And the good news is we have 3 months for her, or 4 months, 3.5 months. I don't know what it is exactly, but to fall apart and for all this to come out and to be pounded through everybody. She praised the defund the police movement in a radio interview in June 2020. This is 6 months after she ran for president and failed miserably, not getting one vote. And then this would be a month or two before Joe Biden picked her. Again, she would not get any votes in this new presidential pick. This just put her in, just installed her. By the way, she also plans to make Biden's unpopular EV mandates even more aggressive. She wants to make sure that all EVs are sold for all passenger vehicles by 2030. In 6 years, half of every vehicle will be 50%. Right now, it's around, I think, 3 to 7%. And she wants to go to 50. Are you ready to be forced? Second of all, 100% by 2035. So in 11 years, you will have no choice if she gets her way. It is insanely more aggressive than Biden's. Also, if you own a company, all new vehicle purchases for corporate fleets, transportation networks, heavy duty, all electric in 6 years. Let's go, baby. The electric school. I love electric school. We like little yellow buses. Her dream, get on the electric bus with her. It'll break down, but don't worry, she won't have a problem. If she gets elected, the beast was not powered by battery. It never will be, because that's not going to save a president in an attack. If it goes dead. Harris also urging in 2016 to stop calling radical Islamics and radical Islamic terrorism no more. She said that at a mosque and to much applause. I have all this audio. I'll play for you in a little bit. At a Los Angeles mosque, 2016, we should never call radical Islamic terrorism what it is, radical Islamic terrorism. The mosque cheered and clapped for her. And she also said we should never use the term illegal alien. I've got those audio pieces. It's amazing, isn't it? I mean, this woman is insanely radical. She championed sanctuary city policies, which led to the deaths of 3 in her term as San Francisco DA, and much more as her California Attorney General campaign waged on. And she had that, and she was the AG for several years before running for Senate. It's incredible. It's incredible. Meanwhile, I've told you the radical Islamist and terrorist supporting Hamas rioters who attacked the police violently yesterday, those are Kamala voters. They voted for Joe 4 years ago, but at this point, these are Kamala voters because they don't like Joe anymore. As you know, Genocide Joe. They have already come on social media and had a hashtag trending today. Genocide Josh. They don't want the Jew to be picked for her vice president. They hate the Jews. And in fact, fake news CNN, what's his name? King, the pollster guy, Jake King, whatever his name is. I can't remember his name, but he said that the problem is he's Jewish if she picks him as vice president. It'll be a deadly pick if he gets picked. For us, it'll be very damning, I think, for Pennsylvania. It's a huge deal. However, it'll very much hurt, hopefully, the pro-terrorist movement, Jew-hating movement in the Democrat Party, which is not in the Republican Party. Anyway, if it is, it ain't nothing compared to this rampant anti-Semitism in the Democrat Party. There's almost never called out directly ever, and almost never chastised or removed from the party. Will never be. It's a cancer that grows. Benjamin Netanyahu's team yesterday left the meeting with Kamala feeling discouraged as she emphasized publicly yesterday over Joe Biden's policies against him, that she will not be silent when it comes to Gaza. She likes those people there. She supports them, 3/4 of them who voted to support Hamas after they raped and killed and kidnapped all those Jews. So 3/4 of Gazans feel that way, and yet she is more sympathetic to them than to Israel, unequivocally, in my book. So that's what you have. And then, of course, the other thing is Mr. Hussein Obama, former President Hussein Obama today, with Mrs. Hussein Obama, endorsed her. And here's that little well, I'll play that exciting video for you in a second. I want to go to your calls at 800-288-WBAP. How do you think Kamala's radical positions are going to affect her candidacy? And how do you think Obama's endorsements of Obama's endorsement of Kamala will help? And what do you think? Does this feel like it's all rigged by wealthy elite Democrats? People like Obama, people like George Clooney, people like the billionaires who give millions, if not tens of millions of dollars to support the candidate without getting anybody voting for her. None of the plebes voted for her in the Democrat Party. Actually, they had a chance to. They didn't vote for her at all. She got no votes in any of the Democrat primary votes for president. She dropped out because she had no support, including in heavily black South Carolina. She got 0.0 was her actual polling numbers when she got out. Our number, by the way, 800-288-WBAP is our number. Chime in right now, 800-288-9227. Lines wide open. Get on right now with me, 800-288-9227. How do you think Kamala's radical positions affect her candidacy? How do you think Obama's endorsement of the cackling Kamala today will help? And does this all seem rigged by wealthy elite Democrats? 800-288-9227 is our number, 800-288-WBAP. Here is the Hussein Obama family getting excited in their coronation of her. The king endorses his assistant, his lieutenant, who will be running the country under his direction.
To my girl Kamala, I am proud of you. This is going to be historic.
We called to say Michelle and I couldn't be prouder to endorse you and to do everything we can to get you through this election and into the Oval Office.
Oh my goodness. Michelle, Barack, this means so much to me.
This means, oh my gosh. Do you know she was on a speakerphone with them? And do you know that she held it to her ear like she was talking? This woman is that much of a mental midget. She thought she should have the phone to her ear for video while she was talking to the Hussein Obama family on speaker. That's who this woman is. Let's continue with what she's... Oh, my goodness. I'm pretending like I know this is going to happen. I didn't know this was going to happen. This is... Oh, my goodness.
So much to me. I'm looking forward to doing this with the two of you, Doug and I both, and getting out there, being on the road.
So there you go. What do you think? How does that endorsement help Kamala's chances of winning? And does it all seem rigged? Doesn't it kind of all seem rigged by wealthy elite Democrats? And how do you think Kamala's radical positions affect her candidacy? I think if this is effectively distributed to the community, to the country, that this will destroy her chances and bring her down 10 points. But I don't know if it will. You have WCCO Minneapolis St. Paul lying on Twitter saying she never donated to the Minnesota Freedom Fund. She was the community notes destroyed her on Twitter. She was immediately labeled as they were immediately labeled as liars, and rightfully so. All of these leftist GovTrack, who rated her the most liberal senator in the entire United States Senate, more so than Bernie Sanders in 2019, deleted that page and claimed their calculations weren't exactly as accurate as they should have been, or it's not the same thing. It is, because the following year she was voted the second most liberal after Bernie Sanders in 2020. This woman is a socialist, leftist, progressive Californian. And so I think if it's delivered properly, I mean, I gave you all those positions, I think it's going to have devastating effects to her as the media and the Democrats cover it up and say how incredible she is. All right, speaking of that, I've got a montage from the media saying she is so moderate. Guys, she is so moderate. This woman is so moderate. All right. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Lines wide open. How do you think Kamala's radical positions affect her candidacy? How do you think Obama's endorsement will help? And how much does this seem rigged to you by wealthy elite donors? To me, when I really listen to the Obamas today say how awesome she is and how they endorse her or whatever, I got the real feeling shot right into my mind there was, this has been written for years. I had a listener yesterday who called in last night and said that, and I'm like, you are so right. This has been made. This whole thing was written in the past couple of years. They knew Biden was senile, but they used him as a supposed moderate old white guy, career politician, and they used him as a figurehead. They went in, they ran the third term of Obama, and now they're going to do a much more obvious leftist with the fourth term, much more radical from the Obama administration. All right, 800-288-WBAP. Your call's next. You're going to hear the media say she's moderate from today. That's great. All that next to the Chris Crock Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
Prosecutors are not really leftists. They put people in jail for a living, okay? They're pretty moderate. I know the vice president personally. She's moderate.
The radical in this campaign, Michael, is not Kamala Harris, as all the Trump advertising is saying now. The radical right-winger is Donald Trump.
Donald Trump and the MAGA Republicans just lie, and lie. Her record is very clear for anybody who wishes to take a look at it.
Well, let's take a look at it. She supported defunding the police, and one day earlier, she applauded Los Angeles Mayor Eric Garcetti for his decision to defund the police by $150 million in Los Angeles. She applauded that, to take that from the budget and use it for social services. Yeah, she's that far of a leftist. Here she is with that.
Defund the police. The issue behind it is that we need to reimagine how we are creating safety. For too long, the status quo thinking has been you get more safety by putting more cops on the street. Well, that's wrong. This whole movement is about rightly saying we need to take a look at these budgets and figure out whether it reflects the right priorities.
The largest police union in the country, what is that? I can't forget now. What is that? I can't remember it now. The largest police union in the country, anyways, Fraternal Order Police, FOP. Their spokesperson, their head, is out of Houston. I heard him yesterday on Fox. He totally just ripped her to shreds for how she treats cops, how cops have been treated, and how it's affected policing as a whole and people and their safety. A Pew Research poll found that only 25% of the population at that time she said that agreed with reducing police budgets. She is in the She sides with 1/4 of our country. She is against 3/4 of our country. That's her views and how out of the mainstream she is. In 2019, she called the border wall a vanity project because, quote, by definition, illegal immigration is not an emergency. This woman, of course, is now the border czar, and as the media tries to pretend they weren't, and Democrats. Here is one of her positions on that.
We don't need to build a wall. This is a crisis of his own making. And by definition, just plain speak, basic English language definition, it is not an emergency. What's going to end up happening is that he will end up, without any question, if he proceeds, we're going to be looking at a situation where, in particular, homeowners and landowners in places like New Mexico and Texas are probably going to look at government taking their land. We're looking at military resources being focused, again, on the president's vanity project instead of focused on real national security issues.
By the way, it's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset, y'all. 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. How do you think... Here's my questions for you. Chime in right now. How do you think Kamala's radical positions affect her candidacy? And how do you think Obama's endorsements of Kamala today will help? And does this all, how much does this all seem rigged by wealthy elite Democrats? Everything. Everything seems rigged. They wrote everything. She didn't get one vote for her. Trump was saying that today in one of his speeches he was just giving about a half hour ago live in Florida at Mar-a-Lago. He was in West Palm Beach at a conservative gathering, and he said that. He literally went after her for just that right there. And being a radical leftist and all of her positions, and et cetera, which is exactly what he needs to do, not attack her personally in any way, shape, or form. Also, she tried to defund Border Patrol agents and slash the ICE budgets in 2018, according to Fox News on a flashback today. And also, she urged everybody to end the terms radical Islamic terrorism and illegal alien in a Los Angeles mosque. To much applause, here she is.
Have the courage to object when they use that term, radical Islamic terrorism, which ignores how Muslims have overwhelmingly been the greatest victims of terror.
By the way, that's a lie. Number two, isn't she? She talks about radical Islamic terrorism. What would she want to call them? Isn't that what it is? Isn't she the one to line up and be the first person to say radical Christians or extremist Christians or, far right-wing Christian nationalists or whatever? She'd say the same thing about people who she lies about and says are white nationalists or Christian conservatives who are radical Christians and stuff like that. This is ridiculous. Here's the rest of that part.
Also have the courage to reject that term illegal alien. I have seen some of the worst of criminal behavior.
This woman is the dreamiest, far leftist that we could ever find, progressive far leftist that you'll ever find. I mean, ever on a ticket like this. This is incredible. And the new test is going to be how much can the media and the Democrats lie to you and cover up and obfuscate. Now you know why Elon Musk, he said his daughter is dead to him, her son's dead to him because he's transgendered, and the state took away his son and turned him into a woman. I guess the son's had a sex change. And that's why he bought Twitter, he said, even though he knows it's a loss. And this whole thing right now, all this would be covered up on Twitter. You know how many times we've been banned, or not banned, but like shadow banned or stuff on Twitter that we posted with the Trump assassination and the previous, and up till right now, stuff that's being pulled on Facebook or being labeled as not true. So thank God for Twitter now. And being owned by Musk. Kamala champions sanctuary city policies. I have that right here in a litany from the New York Post today. Edwin Ramos, an illegal from El Salvador, committed a triple murder when Harris was the San Francisco DA. He'd been arrested several times as a juvenile for being involved in a gang-related assault on a bus passenger, an attempted robbery of a pregnant woman, and he was not referred to fellow authorities for deportation so he could finish the job to kill 3 under her watch. She kept letting him out, and she let him kill. Finish the job first, and I'll act outrage. Ronnie Aguilera, an illegal from Honduras, was not turned over as a juvenile, and her to federal authorities. That led to a gruesome gang-related murder of Ivan Miranda in 2018 while she was in charge of that. Also, Alexander Izaguirre, an illegal from Honduras. He was in one of her liberal jobs programs, even though he was arrested twice in 8 months for snatching a purse and selling cocaine. He ended up assaulting a San Francisco woman as he snatched her purse, jumped into an SUV, ran her down the vehicle, leaving with a fractured skull. And last but not least, Jose Inez Garcia Zarate murdered Kate Steinle, and he was deported a million times. Not a million times, remember, it was like 20 times. And her under her tutelage, San Francisco did not stop reporting illegalies or stopping illegalies. It was Sanctuary City, and what happened was Kate Steinle was murdered by him for her policies. There you go. Those are her policies. All right? And, of course, she's anti-cop, too, so they could really finish the job on us before they act outrage. Up next on the Chris Crock Show on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. New polling from Fox News, from the Wall Street Journal, and a third poll, all coming out late this afternoon, how Kamala is actually gaining and has erased the lead Trump had. Rutro Rastro, big time. That's next on the Chris Crock Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
I have to be the skunk at the garden party. This is too triumphalist, okay? This is everybody's giddy. I look at the coverage and it's great. Get ready. They're coming, all right? And it's good. Everybody should feel good and liberated and everything else. But if we don't win the election, we hadn't done anything. This kind of giddy elation is not going to be very helpful much longer, because that's not what we're going to be faced with.
Okay, so that's James Carville, decades-long Democrat, former Clinton advisor, etc. Our number, by the way, on News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Make it a preset. 800-288-9227. That's 800-288-9227. 800-288-WBAP. New polling out today, 2 different polls in the same day, a bunch of Fox News ones for swing states individually and nationally. It is not good for us, for the Trump side. And other polling from the Wall Street Journal simultaneously coming out, not the same poll, also is not good for us. The big question, or as Dwayne would say, the big question, is this going to hold, or is this just a honeymoon? And this whole thing's been rigged in a way. I told you in the last segment about the Hussein Obama's endorsing Kamala publicly, Kamala holding the phone to her ear while it was on speakerphone with the Obamas. It was bizarre. That's who she is. So she was doing that when they endorsed her. And I told you earlier, it felt like this whole thing's been scripted out for a couple of years at least, if not longer. By the way, fake news CNN has all sorts of clips of Kamala endorsing defunding the police. It's pretty incredible to see that on fake news CNN. So I'm grateful that some of the truth goes on that station or whatever it is, that network. But the polls worry me, and nobody knows. I don't know. Trump's people, Kamala's people, the Democrat, nobody knows, and you and I don't know how this is going to play out. The thing is, we got 3-4 months, and what we're seeing now is not good. So Fox News poll, Trump hits 50% Wisconsin, and he edges Harris by 1 point. Okay, that's, I suppose, good. Fox News poll says Harris and Trump are tied in Pennsylvania, much better than solidly better or moderately better than Biden. Governor Shapiro, here's a good thing, though. Governor Shapiro, the very successful Democrat governor, beats Trump in the matchup by 10 points. The key to that is, though, Harris only is tied versus Shapiro up by 10. So do you see how that's actually good, showing you if you have a good candidate, it's up 10 over Trump. But it's not. You have a horrible candidate, in my opinion. Fox News poll says dead heat between Harris and Trump in Michigan. That's not good compared to what it was before. I think it was a couple points at least or more for Trump. Fox News poll in battleground states overall say that she and Trump are extremely close. They're right where Biden was in April, where he wasn't falling apart. Support for Harris exceeds Biden's in this battleground states poll, and it exceeds Biden's support in April before it collapsed. Trump is preferred over Harris by wide margins among voters prioritizing the economy and immigration, which is nice and very good. But overall, this is not good for us. And by the way, here's another thing that's a lot disconcerting. When you add RFK Jr. and Jill Stein and what's his name, the other green candidate guy, Cornel West, it gives in Pennsylvania, it gives her Kamala a 2-point advantage from a tie. And that's what's actually going to be on the ballot, guys. That's a problem. That means she's ahead by 2 with everybody on the ballot. So we do need to be worried, and we need to be concerned. The Wall Street Journal poll is nothing better at all either. I'll give you those details in a second, but I'm asking you this. How likely are these polls to hold in the race with these numbers? How likely do you think this is to stay this way or to possibly get worse for Trump? And how does this make you how worried does this make you about Trump's chances? All right. How likely are these polls to hold with these numbers, these not good numbers for Trump? And how worried does this make you about Trump's chances in November? 800-288-WBAP is our number. 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. Lines wide open. Harris erases Trump's lead. The Wall Street Journal, a separate Wall Street Journal poll that also came out late this afternoon. So this is bad. Wall Street Journal poll shows heightened support among Kamala's non-white voters and dramatically increased enthusiasm. The former president leads her by 2 points in a two-person matchup. But when you have RFK Jr. and the other third parties, Harris leads by 1. And black and Latino young voters show greater support for her than they did for Biden. Harris supported by 63% of non-white voters in the two race, up from Biden's 51 points. That's a 12-point gain in non-white voters from what he had in the last Wall Street Journal poll. Her support is still below 73% of non-white voters who backed Biden in 2020. So at least she's still 10 down by what Biden got in 2020 to win. All right, that's what we got, and I don't like it. It certainly does not feel good, does it? So the question is this a sugar high, or is this going to continue? Sean Hannity keeps saying sugar high, sugar high, sugar high. Catch his show on Fox News past couple nights, except for his 10 minutes where he repeats himself in the first 10 minutes of every show he ever does. Says the same thing for 10 minutes, and then starts a real show. And it always has annoyed me and many, but I love Sean. But anyway... So I think we're in some trouble here, and I think nobody knows. And I think the thing Trump has to do is Trump must not attack her personally in any way, shape, or form. He must publicly denounce and attack any Republican who publicly says that she's a DEI hire. That is nothing that's going to help us in any way, shape, or form. I took a wonderful call from an African-American listener who agrees with me a lot of times, but also said there's sometimes when she doesn't agree with me, which she said that's fine. She's going to vote for Trump. She supports him. But she said she's a local professional person in her capacity, and she said that's highly offensive to her as a Trump supporter and Trump voter. And he's never said that, but a couple of Republicans did, and they got to stop that. They got to stop. He shouldn't say she's a lunatic. Even that, just say she's a liberal, progressive, leftist San Francisco Democrat, and go over the positions. I can bullet them now in 30 seconds. It's only getting worse as each day passes with more and more and more and more. But if we don't hit this right, we're going to lose. I think this woman has the potential to do what she always does, which is fall apart. But we cannot, because she's truly the fool in this race of the two. In fact, I'm going to play the audio she said about young people. She deathly or incredibly needs their votes. And this young woman is she called young people horrible things about him. He said, I'm going to play that, I'm going to play that audio coming up next as well. Plus your call at 800-288-WBAP, 800-288-9227. How likely are these polls to hold in the race with these not good numbers for Trump? And how worried does this make you about Trump's chances in November? 800-288-WBAP, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.
You said you did not believe that was still her position of what we just played, but you laid out her position now. Mitch, no. Okay, go ahead. So that is still her position. She wants to move money from police departments, potentially. Right, she thinks those are still the same.
That's not what I said. What I said was you have to consider. I
asked if she still is no longer. Is this no longer Harris's position? And you said no, I don't think so. So let's just I want to make clear what your is. That still her position or not?
What I'm saying to you is that statement that you just played was played out of context.
So he cannot answer if Kamala still wants to defund police. You got that? That's her campaign chairman. That is literally the campaign co-chair, Mitch Landrieu, the former governor of New Orleans, who has been mentioned as he's not on the short list, though, to be her VP candidate, because he's supposedly a moderate Democrat. But he doesn't know if she still supports defunding the police. That's fake news, CNN today. They're doing their job a little bit today, huh? Okay, the polls don't look good, though, with Kamala in the race versus Trump, especially when you add third parties on there like RFK Jr. and the other ones. That's very concerning to me. My questions are, how likely are these polls to hold in the race with these numbers? And how worried does this make you about Trump's chances in November? 800-288-WBAP is our number, 800-288-9227. Chime in right now. John in Grapevine. John, WBAP.
I'm not calling to make small talk. I'm calling to lay it bare for you and anybody else that will listen to me. I'm taking these polls very seriously. I think that it's time. By the way, I have met President Trump, had a picture made with him, but he's not going to call me and ask me for my opinions. But I would tell him it's time to knock off calling him crooked Joe Biden.
Right.
It's time not to call her cackling Kamala. The time has come. Donald Trump needs to step forward and say, I'm going to lay this bare for you. What you're looking at, look at every sanctuary state and every sanctuary city. Look at the crime that's in the streets. I want you to look at how many police officers have died over the past 3 years. I know it's over 100, but I don't have the total. Lay it bare for these people. And the most chilling thing that I have heard in the last 48 hours, Kamala Harris wants to raise an additional $5 trillion, and that's trillion with a T.
Yes.
She wants to raise that amount of taxes
to pay for the new Green Deal.
Socialism.
Yes.
And I'm telling you, look, my wife and I, we are not wealthy. We live very comfortably because of the way that we made our livings and the way we saved our money.
Yes.
But I am telling you that the young people better take this. They better take this very seriously, or they're going to have a very ugly life.
She said today that she is she's going to nix the child tax credit, which is like a big deal to both sides of people who qualify for that. I think it's I think it's $2 or $3 grand, maybe even up to $4 grand off of your taxes per minor child. From what I recall, minor unfortunately passed the threshold. I was not happy about that this year. I got the royal bone on that. Seriously, right? But
I know she is far to the left of Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders, and I'm telling you that those two people are as un-American as it gets. And if you want any kind of a decent life, if you don't want the government telling you what school you can go to, what kind of a job you're going to have, what kind of a house you're going to live in, what kind of a car you're going to drive.
She has said all those. I've played it on the air yesterday and today. Yeah.
You'd better get your butts to the poll and vote for Donald Trump, or life as you have grown up knowing it, it's over.
So it sounds to me like
game, set, match.
You're right. And so that'll be terms 4 and terms 5 of former President Hussein Obama's terms, getting more and more and more and more leftist, which is who he is, which is fine. But he shouldn't be running this country. She should if she wants to be the president. So you sounds like these polls are likely, in your opinion, to hold, and we should assume such, and to get worse so we can win. And it sounds like you're also saying you are worried about Trump's chances a lot.
I am worried about it because there are hundreds of thousands of never-Trumpers, and there are suburban women and soccer moms out there that they will vote for Satan himself before they're going to vote for Donald Trump. I'm just telling you, be realistic about this and take it seriously. People keep talking about how the last election was stolen. Women decided they were the tipping point in the last election. They voted against Trump 59% to 41%. I'm just telling you.
You're saying the young people, you said?
I'm saying the women in the
women,
last election.
Yes.
They voted heavily against Donald Trump.
Correct.
So they need to sit down by the fire plug and take a big sip from the coffee pot, because they are going to decide what kind of a future their families and children are going to have.
The good news is Trump did make some gains in that area in the poll, and he's held them in the poll from Fox News today. So that is a good thing in that regard. I can tell you that. But I agree with you, and I think you're right. I'll still call her Cackling Kamala because I'm not running for the election. But he has never, as far as I'm aware, that came from me. And I won't stop saying what I say. I'm not running. And I'm not going to help somebody run for election. I'm just going to give my opinions. I don't run. You don't. If you do what I do, for whether you're a Democrat, Republican, liberal, conservative, if your goal by doing what I do as a job is to get people elected, you're in the wrong business. Because that's why Air America failed. You don't do that. You do a good show. You give information and entertainment. So, but as far as him, you're darn right about that. Here, Ted Cruz said the same thing, by the way. Ted Cruz said Republicans, he says the headline from The Hill, Ted Cruz warns against underestimating Kamala. And we're going to get Ted on the show soon. I've already got it in the pipeline working with the staff. Republicans, Cruz said, I worry vastly underestimate Kamala. They don't think very highly of her. They don't think she's terribly bright. Well, when you or I bring up Kamala's name, in Republican circles, people laugh. It's immediate punchline. He said, I think people are underestimating that with billions of dollars of free media and the entire corporate media complex pitching her as a combination of Mother Teresa, Oprah, and Gandhi. And he's right. He says, I still think Trump wins in November, but it's not a layup. It's not a given. And what's coming in front of us, look, if you're a Democrat, what makes you nervous is chaos. And much of this chaos 100 days out is scary. But you know what? Even more scary is going to an election where you're almost certain to lose, which is where Biden was. Okay, I think Ted's right. And I think we need to listen to him. And he is telling people he's only 3 points up over the leftist voter who voted with Pelosi almost every single time, period. Colin Allred is a fake moderate. He's not. He's very liberal, and he voted to impeach Trump, etc. Here's what Kamala said about young people. They're idiots. If I can get my button pushed. Here we go.
What else do we know about this population, 18 through 24? They are stupid. That is why we put them in dormitories, and they have a resident assistant. They make really bad decisions.
I'm going to expound upon that a little bit more because my son is in Japan. I've told you that. He's studying Japanese and creative writing. And he is almost about to test this year. He'll be testing this fall from a semester abroad as a university student from here in North Texas. And you don't study Japanese and become proficient because you're an idiot. And I think if anybody's an idiot, it's her by the way she talks, or at least her actions are that of an idiot. I'll say that. Okay? All that's coming up next, plus the Trump assassination attempt. How likely is it now that Trump was not hit by a bullet? That this has gone so awry for the FBI. Shame on them and how they treated Trump today and yesterday with Chris Wray. That's next.